welcome to yet another fresh interview at the Face to Face Festival or Soho Theatre. By the time I finish all these things, I'll be able to say that without pausing, trying to not get it confused. Anyway, this time I'm with Jamie West, who is performing on Monday. He's the first one I'm interviewing who's not involved in Adult Child, Dead Child, because everyone so far interviewed has been. Although you are on the same day, so you are on Monday the 6th of October, and you'll be performing a musical, operatic almost, operatic adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher, written by Peter Hammill and lyricist Chris Judge Smith. Sorry, that's a lot of names for me to try and remember here. So, tell us, how did you get involved with this?
About 10 years ago, Colin Watkins, who's directing it, gave me a CD of Peter Hamill's version of this and Chris Judge Smith. And he said, I want to do this, And I was like, okay. And we kind of said, at some point we'll do it. And, literally 10 years ago. And then cut to 10 years later, and I've just finished a new record with my band, and I'm looking for something else to do, something different that's away from kind of my own stuff. And Colin gets in touch and says, do you want to be the musical director for it? Someone else can sing it. And I said, I think I'd quite like to sing it. So I said yes, and then we've just been working on it for the last few months or so. And it's exciting. So, what were the challenges of reducing, reducing Peter Hamill's opera for one solo performer? The challenges were many. It was very difficult because there's a lot of voices in the original and a lot of instruments and a lot of melodies that cross over one another. So it's kind of a case of finding a single melody and going, that's the one, and making it more accessible to me musically. I'm a Peter fan. Hammill. No, I'm a fan of Peter Hammill. From when I was a lot younger, but sometimes it can be quite obscure. The chords he chooses and stuff like that, and I thought maybe if I could kind of bring it to myself a little bit, and I'm quite a standard. I like quite conventional chords, and I thought if I can take the melodies and just adjust the chords slightly, then I can shape it into a proper show. That I could do. And they've been. Peter Hammill has been great, just giving us free rein. Just said, just do whatever you want. That's basically how it's worked out.
So, is he going to be here on Monday?
I don't think he can make it. I think he wanted to, but apparently not.
So slightly less pressure then.
Well, but Chris Judge Smith, the lyricist, is here, and there's been a few alterations to the lyrics. So I'm just hoping he's forgotten what he wrote all those years ago. So, but yeah.
So, how do you think it's going to go? And if it goes well, what are you going to do next with it?
Yeah, good question. I think we did the press night, and that was just one song from it, and it went well, I think. I really enjoyed it. It was strange to be back on a theatre stage again. I used to do a lot of theatre in my late teens, early 20s. And just straight acting, and I did musicals, I did everything, and I kind of been just focused on music for a while, and just being back on a theatre stage was really nerve-wracking, because when you do a rock show, a lot of times people aren't paying that much attention. So, but when you do theatre, everyone's paying attention, which is of course what you want, but for the first minute or so, it was a bit of a kind of a shock, and so that I think bodes well for Monday night. And we're hoping, we've kind of discussed that we'd like to take it, maybe do a little tour of the show, maybe combine it with some of my own material or something else, but I don't know what yet. We hopefully do something with it after Monday too.
So a lot of the people I've been interviewing for the Face to Face Festival have really focused and honed in on that interaction between performer and audience. So, of course, you have a lot of interaction between performer and audience within your music. So, I mean, would you consider this more a musical or a theatre piece? Because you are sort of transcending the genres almost, and it's interesting to hear if I'm making any sense. That was a rubbish question to tell me.
No. I think you're right. It is a bit of an unusual thing to have a solo performer on stage who tells the story in between songs, and it's not fully in sort of the character, it is fully in character, but it's not maybe fully in costume. It's a bit like a rock musician coming on and telling the story. And it is an odd thing, and there isn't, I think, any interaction between. I mean, there isn't really interaction as such between me and the audience. I guess I'm talking at the audience, and I'm looking at them as though they are the other character or characters in the play. So it's not so interactive as in, oh, come on everybody, and that kind of thing. It's not directly bringing them into the drama, I suppose.
But there's still that interaction which you would or wouldn't usually get in the usual sort of rock concert?
It depends on the show. In my shows, I'd usually do kind of call and response, and I used to tell stories actually as part of my show, and I did crazy stuff. I did the T.S. Eliot. I read out, or rather recited T.S. Eliot's Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock one time to an audience in like a cellar pub in the West End. That was really good. Everyone was talking really loudly. I was younger then, more stupid, but everyone was talking really loudly. And by the time I got to the end of the poem, the whole pub was listening. It was fantastic. So yeah, I got a little bit of experience of doing that kind of thing, but yet to see how it will work.
So, what are your views on Edgar Allan Poe? Because to a lot of people, he's this kind of monolith of Gothic literature. I mean, how do you feel like approaching and performing his work in such a different way?
Such a different way from the.
Well, I suppose it's an unusual treatment in the fact that you don't usually make it into an opera sung by a single person.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, on Edgar Allan Poe, I love Edgar Allan Poe, and when I was younger, I read an amazing piece by him talking about how the purpose of poetry is to elevate the soul, and I read that when I was about 16 years old, and it was something that just hit me so strongly, and it actually forms a core part of my belief about what theatre should do, what any art form should do, is to elevate the soul, and that's what I look for. So he's kind of like a foundation, that kind of principle is like a foundation layer of my whole outlook on that, and I like his I've read, I don't know how many of his short stories I've read, maybe about 5 or 6, and some of his poetry. But I like what I've read, and he's one of those people you kind of always, he's got that whole world, doesn't he? You want to explore more. You always want to explore more. You always feel like there's more inside of it, more inside of his world. So it's so gothic. As I was showing it to my girlfriend, and she was like, "Oh, it's very gothic." But I like that. I like dark stuff. It's fun to do, and you can, as I'm singing it now, we just had a rehearsal, and I'm singing it, and I'm finding more in the words. I'm finding that, there's more depth to it. There's more, you can get more emotion in it, and that's what I'm trying to work on. And I'm sure we'll continue even after this performance, if I can, is getting more depth out of the story. It's such an odd story, and so full of so many questions. So maybe that's why it's resonated with people for so long, because it kind of has so many questions to it, which it doesn't really give any answers to.
Is there any other author you'd like to give similar treatment to?
Oh wow, that's a good question. I I don't know. I bet there is. I can't think of who it would be off the top of my head. I don't know. I mean, there's so many wonderful authors. I guess who you would adapt into a solo kind of musical show. I don't know. Maybe I have to wait for Peter Hammill to write one. Yeah.
And so the last question. So, like, are you actually going to be? Has he given you the bug? Are you going to possibly go into more doing sort of this stuff with theatre, or are you still definitely go? Or let me compose myself for a moment and gather and actually get my thoughts together. So apologies. One moment. So do you think this is something you'll start doing and start doing more of rather than your band stuff?
In a word, yes. I think so. We've got a record coming out called The Towers, which will be coming out towards the end of 2014. So it's totally done, and we'll be putting it out there. But actually, what I'm really interested in now is doing some more of this kind of thing. It's nice to be back in the theatre. The theatre world is a lot friendlier than the music world. The music world sucks. So it's nice to do. It's nice to do theatre, because even whatever size audience you have, the etiquette is that you go there and you want to have an experience and you listen, and it's very much about the show. Whereas in a lot of music shows you go and do, it's more about how the audience themselves look and do they fit in with the crowd that they're in, and it's about the fashions that everyone's wearing, and actually the music is incidental, and music isn't incidental to me. I'm the one who's making all this effort to put it on. It's central. So yeah, I'm hopefully we'll do some more theatre and either just straight acting or this kind of thing, which is unusual and bizarre. So yeah, I'm hoping to.
But possibly maybe a crazy concept album.
A crazy concept. Well, I just did my album that I just did is a concept album.
Oh, marvellous. I shall...
and that one's kind of set in this kind of post-apocalyptic future world, where everything's kind of fallen down, and it's all these crazy characters, and each song is a kind of a story within that world. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for your time. So that's Jamie West performing Peter Hammill and Chris Judge Smith's Fall of the House of Usher. That's the Edgar Allan Poe and not the rap artist. Although that will be interesting. We had a bit of discussion about that. Fall of the House of Usher. Usher.
I think that would be awesome. And he could bring in the dance element as well, couldn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he would be. Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. Anyway, so the Fall of the House of Usher, that's going on October the 6th. Yes, October the 6th. And then your album is out at the end of 2014.
Yeah, and people can get that from jamiewest.net.
Jamie West, yeah. Okay, well, we'll see you for the next interview soon, and thank you very much, Jamie.
Oh, you're welcome, thank you.